Hi everyone, welcome to the new session. This is Abhishek, your host for today's Ask Us Anything session, where our experts from VWO will help you uh, with all your queries and concerns and particular use cases that you face and want resolved and answered during while using VWO. Today, joining us are Anshul and Megha from our product and our optimization team. They will be addressing your queries on experimentations and how you can derive the best value out of using the VWO platform. Uh, to start off, Anshul will address the very first query that we have, and Anshul, over to you.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. I hope you're able to hear me well.
Yeah.
Great. So, the first query that we received was when should we use A/B, split, and multivariate testing? Uh, so, this is an interesting question. I think a lot of people think of uh, A/B, split, and multivariate as one or the other alternative, products that you can use instead of the other. However, it's a really, if you look at it, all of these three are really complementary to each other. And let me start by talking a little bit about when you can use A/B and split and multivariate. So, uh, A/B test is a simple way of bucketing users into two or more variations. So it can be used for a variety of use cases. Like you could test copy changes on a headline or a button, or even change the placement of elements on the page, such as restructuring your pricing page to maybe show the plans above the fold or try out something else. So yeah, it can be used for a variety of things. And uh, it's pretty easy to set up because it also has a visual editor, so you can very easily make changes to it. Where it gets a little bit tricky with A/B test is when you have very heavy changes, such as think of uh, you think of an e-commerce website when they have an entire menu bar and now they want to redesign it and they have a completely new UI and a lot of different changes are to be coded into it. Such change would take up a lot of bandwidth in itself and will become very, very large. And that's where one alternative, split testing, fits in. So split testing could be used to divide the visitors on your website onto two different URLs. So you can create a parallel page and divert half of the visitors on it, and in effect achieve an A/B test with that. So it's a very suitable alternative when you have very large change sets, and it works well there. Multivariate testing is slightly different from these two. It's used when you want to find out the impact of a combination of changes that work towards the same goal. So, uh, take an example could be, say, on a product page, how is the name displayed? What is the product description, the way it's structured, and even the copy of copy of the add to cart button, or even the color of the add to cart button is in play. So you could create different variations of all of these elements, and VWO will combine all the changes in a way as all of the combinations that are possible are made, and then the visitors will be divided amongst all of this. So as you can imagine, with using multivariate testing, you will have a large number of combinations which you're testing, where you could get answers such as, okay, what if I don't change the text of my CTA, but alter how the product description appears and how the product name is displayed? What can I achieve with that? Uh, but with the one drawback of having so many variations is that the amount of traffic needed for such tests is really high, and hence the amount of time that you'll devote to this will be a lot. So yeah, I mean, one alternative way of like in case you have a situation where you want to test multiple combinations, it could be a heading plus CTA combination on, let's say, the homepage of your website. You may want to also consider if your test is becoming too large, if the number of visitors required for it will be too much, you can use A/B testing duration calculators to estimate that. And uh, an alternative to this could be if you want to break it down into several A/B tests because they are uh, because of the less number of variations are significantly faster. So yeah, you see that these three are very complementary to each other, A/B, split, and multivariate testing. And based on what use case you have at hand, what problem you're trying to solve, or what idea are you trying to test, you could leverage any one of these three. Uh, Megha, do you
Thank you,
have
Anshu.
anything to add here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with whatever Anshu said, and I agree with that. If we test on a multivariant testing, that the traffic which we would be requiring is pretty much higher. And A/B testing is great, like when we have just one or two variable in which we need to change on, and we can create different variations to test like which heading or which CTA if we are testing around works well for us. So yes. I guess everything else will be covered by was covered by Anshul pretty well.
Great. Thank you, Anshul and Megha. Just wait a second in questions whether the attendees want to ask a follow-up question before we move on to our next query. Okay, I think we should move forward to the next one. No questions as of now. Anshul, could you please address the next question that we received?
Sure. Thanks, Abhishek. So the next question was how to track and slice the test analytics for users based on their attributes like past purchases, user type preferences, etc. Uh, so this question is about how can you leverage the data that's in your system that you have collected at your end, which adds a lot of color to the profile of the visitor and tells you a lot about how you can probably approach different visitors and change your value proposition. Uh, to do that, you can also be interested in looking at the test reports by say visitors who have purchased with you in the past versus who haven't, with visitors who have been, let's say, premium customers of yours and would fall into that bucket, or visitors that are returning to your website after a really long time, say maybe they were last seen a year or 2 years ago. So maybe you could position your value proposition differently to all of these different segments of visitors. Uh, so one way to do that would be to send this knowledge about different visitors back into VWO systems so that you could have options while you're analyzing your reports. You have options to filter your reports by these different visitor properties. We have a feature in VWO called custom dimensions, which would allow you to do that. So essentially, it would let you add a custom, a user-defined dimension where you can say, I want to track what is the long-term value of this customer, or how long has this customer been with us, or how many days has it been since the last purchase of this customer. And you could have these attributes defined in VWOs, and with a simple integration, you could ensure that you could read these values from the page and send them back into VWO. Because VWO is also tracking these visitors for a test, or in case if you're using uh, VWO Insights also for the heat maps and for session recordings. And by tagging these visitors, we now know, say, a value of this. So if I take an example of Abhishek, I, and Megha, maybe three of us belong to three different cities, and or sorry, cities is some information that you already have. Maybe three of us belong into in three different segments, and based on when a last purchase happened, maybe I could have purchased 1 week before, Abhishek some last month, and Megha could have purchased Megha's last purchase could be 1 year ago. And based on that information, in case you encounter me, Megha, or Abhishek on your website, you could customize your offering. You could say present what's new to me, or add what's been trending since the last month for Abhishek. And in fact, even say uh, for Megha, you could just add what's been the best-selling items, and what is it that most people order in her location, and things like that. So by having this information and sending this back to VW, you also have an option to then slice and dice your A/B test and say, okay, my variation and my control, I have an overall result. I know my variation is doing 5% better than my original version. And but if you apply a segment for recent buyers, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe they are more acclimatized to the original version, and that's what they're favoring, and that's something that you could uncover and then action on. So yeah, more details about custom dimensions, I think we'll email that to you, and you could set that up in your account and leverage that to gain more insights.
Thank you, Anshul. Thank you for the insights. Megha, would you like to add something specific?
Yeah, I guess I agree with the Anshu's point in here that we can integrate each and every campaign which we run on VW with the analytics tool which we have, right? So, for example, if you are using a UA, a GA, a Google Tag Manager, right? So you can set up custom dimension in all those analytics tools so that you don't have to do the rework and you don't have to set up anything in there, and you can get every data regarding to what metrics you would be looking for, whether it's based on the previous purchase, based on or what country I would be belonging to. That all things would be covered like once we have the integration of every campaign with our campaigns. Yeah.
Great, Megha. Thank you. Uh, I will now open the forum to any of the attendees if they want to ask a specific question that our experts can address, or anything related to experimentation beyond custom dimensions that you're interested to know more about. We'd be more than happy to answer those questions over here. Okay, so we'll be wrapping up this session for now. We'll also be sending the recording to all the attendees that are here. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can still reply to the particular email that you receive, and we'll be happy to address those as well. Again, we'd like to thank Anshul and Megha for coming for the session and addressing queries. See you next time. Thank you, Anshul and Megha.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you. Thank you.